Welcome in, Falcons fans. It's your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for more Atlanta Falcons coverage as the Falcons and the Cowboys play tomorrow. And I had to bring a special guest onto the show, a person who's very familiar with the Cowboys, actually covers them from a little. Good friend of mine, Nicole Hutchison, Dallas Cowboys team reporter. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, man? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, man. But yeah, I'm doing all right, man. We surviving out here.
Love
man.
to hear it. Love to hear it.
Obviously, our two teams are kind of involved in a big game for both sides, depending on which angle you're looking at it from. You guys are kind of looking at this as kind of a must-win game. As some people have kind of mentioned this early in the season, the conference, Eagles and Washington looking good, trying to stay, afloat, while the Falcons, after sweeping Tampa Bay, now has control of the division, but also has to keep winning if they want to continue to move on. So my first question to you, Nicole, is do you think the Cowboys are ready for this game?
You know what? I've been getting that question the last 3 days. We're being honest. The last two games have been must-win games for them, and they have not shown up. So, you look at this matchup, and I would say they somewhat have the advantage. But now looking at that we just got the final injury report, it's like, hey, you're without Trayvon Diggs. You might be without Eric Kendricks, your Mike linebacker. There's so many key pieces that you could be possibly without. And last week you had them back and they didn't show up as well. So, I hope they're ready, because at this point, if you go 3-5, you have less than a 19.2% chance. I think we looked that up earlier this week, of making the playoffs. And if this team wants to have any chance of making the playoffs, they have to win this game.
Yeah. And I think too, when these two teams have met in the past, they've actually been pretty interesting games. Obviously, we had the Adrian Claiborne game. We had the game where I was going to cover an onside kick, and the Cowboys were able to win that game. There's been a lot of things that have happened in this team's history. I think both fan bases get up for this game just because, it's Dallas Cowboys. We know the brand. Yeah. And obviously the Falcons look at it as an opportunity to, we're going to get more eyes on us because Dallas Cowboys usually have highly rated games. So this is a big game for both teams. So when you look at Dak this season, it's been a bit of an up and down performance for him. He's been, he's had some good games, but then he's also had some games where you're just like, what's going on here? And I can say the same thing for Kirk. Kirk's had some games where he's just lit it up. And there's been some games where I'm like, what's happening here? How important do you think the quarterback position is going to be in this game between the two teams with two veteran guys in there?
Well, I think it starts with the offensive line. When your offensive line can play well, your quarterback plays well. And there's been every game this year, this offensive line for the Cowboys has just not played up to the standard that we thought that they could play. You say there's two rookies on the offensive line, but Cooper Beebe's actually been playing very well this year. I think he's given up the least amount of pressures on the offensive line as a whole. But you have guys like Zach Martin, who, granted, the word is that this could be possibly his last year. He has not confirmed that. So, he's getting to the tail end of his career. And he's given up sacks. He's given up pressure. He's had his worst season since 2018. Terrence Steele can't win his one-on-ones. That is a problem. And when you can't do that, you can't get to the second level, Dak is having so many different issues of just trying to do all his checkdowns, and he can't do that without his offensive line. So I think that's where it starts. Kirk Cousins has a little bit better of an offensive line when you think about it. So he's had more time to throw the ball. And you don't have a run game. Can we talk about that? Because when you don't have that either, it puts a lot more pressure on your quarterback. So it's that everything kind of plays in together. And that's really why Dak has been having this year that he's had. Granted, if you're the highest paid quarterback in the NFL history, you better be playing like the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, regardless if you have either of those. So it's kind of like a mix up. I think Kirk Cousins does have the advantage, though, when you look at the quarterback play.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the line play because I don't know if you, Nicole. No, Falcons don't have the greatest pass rush in the world. And they also, you can run the football on this team like previous games have shown. So this could be a potential breakout game for you guys in that regard. But it's kind of like both teams' weaknesses are going head to head a little bit here. So it's like which weakness is going to become a strength in this game? So can you just talk about, obviously you guys have some injuries along the front of your defensive line. Obviously, I don't believe Michael Parsons is going to play this week. Is Lawrence back this week?
Nope.
He's not back either. So obviously, that's going to play a big part in this game. Is there a player when you look at the Falcons that you maybe are worried about wrecking the game or potentially having an impact on this game on either side of the ball?
Are we talking offensive line, defensive line for the Falcons?
Any position, anybody.
Let's go with. I would say Matthew Judon. Honestly, probably is. I'd say a game wrecker. He's not playing like he was playing with the New England Patriots, but he can be like that Micah Parsons-esque type of player. They line him up on both sides sometimes. And when you look at our tackles, we've had a hard time. So I'd say he's probably our game wrecker when you're talking about in the trenches, for sure.
Yeah, I get that for sure. And, like I said, he hasn't had the best year so far. Only 2 sacks on the season, but looking for that breakout game. I know Falcons, fans are frustrated by the lack of pass rush. And, Jimmy Lake, defensive coordinator, has talked about getting better at that, improving that, trying to get after the guys. And listen, trade deadline is coming up here soon. So maybe Cowboys could be in the market for a move. We obviously could be in the market to make a move.
Don't wait on it. I don't think we're doing anything.
You don't think so? Jerry ain't gonna do that?
Confirmed that he's not doing it. Don't expect us to do anything or the Cowboys to do anything before the trade deadline. So I think this is the team we got, and this is the team they expect to be getting wins done. So we will see.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. What do you think about that matchup, Ceedee Lamb, Aj Terrell this Sunday? You feeling good about it? Ceedee's had a good year. Regardless, Ceedee's one of the best receivers in the game for a reason. Yeah. How you feel about that matchup with Aj Terrell this weekend?
I don't know. I think, and so I actually spoke with Ceedee about that, and he said he feels like they'll have Aj Terrell kind of follow him a little bit or travel with him. And so they played twice, I believe, in their careers. I believe in 2020 and 2021, but they didn't line him up with Ceedee Lamb a lot. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of matchup plays out. But from what I've seen, they have not run a lot of man. They run a lot more zone than man. 21%, I believe, in man coverage this year. So Ceedee Lamb thrives off zone coverage. He can find those soft spots. So I think that when you're talking about that matchup, Ceedee Lamb is going to have that one completely handled. But when you look at our other receivers, you haven't really seen a guy that could step up possibly if they don't have Aj Terrell traveling with Ceedee Lamb. I'm kind of worried about maybe even a Kevontae Turpin who's had key drops. He hasn't trusted his route running that I've seen, and he's had some ups and downs as well. So I think that'll kind of be key. Like who else can kind of step up when you're talking about that wide receiver room?
Yeah, and I think too that Falcons, you would say their strength is their secondary, just because of the talent they have back there. Obviously, Falcons have really had no teams take a lot of deep shots on the team just because of the 2 safeties. I believe Justin Simmons should be back this week. Jesse Bates, obviously, we know what kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. So really, really, interesting matchup just because of the lack of running game Cowboys have had. They've kind of had to be a heavy throwing football team, which makes them one-dimensional and could lead back to some problems, of course. Absolutely. So when you look at this game, obviously you talked about Matthew Judon potentially wrecking the game with somebody to watch out for. Mm-hmm. Is there a key for this game, just overall, that you're just like, Cowboys have to do this if they're going to overcome the Falcons?
They have to run the football. The Falcons are allowing 122, or I believe 122 points. Yards on the ground, average. So if you look at that and you look at the Cowboys, they have not been able to run the ball effectively, and they haven't figured out their personnel, which, in my opinion, it's Rico Dowdle and it's Dalvin Cook. Zeke should be your third down guy. Share those snaps with Hunter Lipke. Use him in the screen game. In the red zone, it's either Hunter Lipke or Zeke. I don't understand why they have not figured that out just yet, but that's what I believe can get the job done if you're talking about finding a consistent run game. And at this point of the season, which is kind of ironic, they're still trying to figure out those pieces. Don't understand that, but I think that if the Cowboys are going to have success, because throwing the football is just not going to work against this team. Their safeties are just up. They're playing their best ball right now. So yeah, they have to run the football, opens up the pass game, then they can do so many different things there and attack the Falcons defensively.
Yeah, definitely. And one key for the Falcons is just being able to get after Dak Prescott. They have to be able to get pressure on Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott shows if you give him some time, he can't eat you alive. So if they can do that, that would be big. But Cole, I know you got to go. Before you go, let people know where they can find you.
DallasCowboys.com. I have shows on Valley Sports Southwest as well. It's called Cowboys Flashback, which will be basically a post-game show for the Cowboys on Mondays. Cowboys Rewind on CBS 21. That's actually our Dallas station as well. So DallasCowboys.com. I have a podcast as well. Check it out. You won't miss it.
Yes, sir. Check it out. She does great work for the Dallas Cowboys. I appreciate you, Nicole, coming on. But that's all we got for today. You already know where to find your boy Bryce _2K on social, across all socials, man. But that's Nicole. I'm Bryce. See you next time.